it is Antarctica in my house. It's that weird time of year where it's cool outside and you could probably get away with turning your heat on, but you don't because you want to be snuggly, and I'm loving it. I woke up this morning and my nose was cold and it was glorious. I love fall so much. Hello friends, how are you doing today? My name is Mary and this is Happily Ever Esch. I am sharing with you my October-ish wrap-up, so mostly Cozyathon and what I've just been reading in the beginning of October. So let's just get on into it. So the first book that I have finished I listened to on audiobook, and that was Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. Ruta Sepetys? Ruta Sepetys? I don't know. And I listened to this, like I said, mostly on audiobook, and I read a little bit in this. I just like to get the physical copy. Sometimes it's nice to go back and reread passages that maybe didn't make the most sense or that you thought were beautiful or whatever. So that is why I have this from the library, but I definitely recommend the audiobook. This is a World War II story set in Germany, and it follows four main characters. Joanna, a young nurse who is a Lithuanian refugee. Amelia, a young Polish girl. Florian, who is, well, I guess he's Prussian, living in the country, who is kind of on a secret mission. Alfred, who is a German Navy soldier, or Navy man, I guess. I'm not exactly sure what his title would be. So we follow each of their perspectives, and they are told in short, very short paragraphs, almost like little vignettes, but so you kind of get a very full scope picture of what's going on. I really liked the short chapter format because you can see the same event from different perspectives, and it works well because the chapters were so short. So this follows each of their perspectives as they are fleeing the Russians. The war is about over, and we all know history, we know what happens, and so they're trying to get to safety, and they end up coming upon the Wilhelm Gustloff, which a huge cruise line that refugees were escaping to safety in Germany. And we follow that story. So it's based on true historical events, an event that I never heard of. You, unless reading this book or had some specific history class about it, probably have never heard about it either, and it sheds a lot of light on that moment in history. So I'm very glad that I read this. I liked this a lot more than Between Shades of Grey, which I might be in the minority in saying that, but I thought that this book was so well written. I loved the audio. Maybe that's what added to my enjoyment, but I was just riveted by this. There are so many beautiful characters in this, especially there's a character in here called the Shoe Poet, and he is just beautiful and too pure for this world. He's just embodies my type of favorite character. He's just definitely the goodness in this book, and I couldn't help but love him. But this story it's just beautiful. I really like Ruta's writing. He does some really interesting things with the different perspectives and carrying themes through the different perspectives. So yeah, she's a wonderful writer, and like I said, I enjoyed this one a lot more than Between Shades of Grey, which was good, don't get me wrong, but I definitely connected more to the characters and to the story, and I would absolutely recommend it. It's a pretty quick read. I love how she really sheds light on historical events that are important and need to be talked about, and don't get a lot of face time. I wonder if she'll ever write an adult novel. I definitely think I would be interested if she did. So I don't know if she will, but I liked this, and I think that you should check it out if you're into historical fiction, a multi-perspective novel, if you just want to learn some more about the Wilhelm Gustloff. Yeah, you should definitely pick this one up. Again, highly recommend the audiobook if you're into audiobooks, and this is very cold in setting, so would be a great winter read. Next, I picked up A Kind of Freedom by Margaret Wilkerson Sexton. This I had to take back to the library. It's barely 200 pages long, and it is another historical fiction, and this is looking at Jim Crow law, and in particular how that affected a Black family in New Orleans. I loved this story. I thought it was extremely well written. I thought it gave a good perspective. We follow 3 different narrative lines. It's a multi-generational family story. So we follow grandmother who was young during World War I. She was from a pretty prominent family. Her father was a doctor. And then we follow her daughter, who was married to a pharmacist who got involved with drugs and really struggled with financially with his job and with his addiction. And then we follow their son, who is also struggling with drug use and has been imprisoned for possession of marijuana. And so we follow those 3 different perspectives. They're interwoven, so you're not just getting grandma's story, just getting mom's, just getting the son's. You bits and pieces, and I love stories told like that. And I think it takes a particular skill to do that, and to keep you interested in all the different stories. So I really appreciated how the story was told. I also thought police brutality was showed in a very unique way, because we're seeing police brutality and aggression towards Black people from, you know, the early perspective, pre-civil rights movement, seeing it in mom's life, and so that's, you know, 70s, 80s, and then again in the son's, which is more present day. This also looks at the effects of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, and especially how that affected the population there. I thought that this was just so wonderfully written, so eye-opening, and packed such a punch in 200 pages. I really was made to feel hopeless at times as the reader, and just I felt so angry about just the unfairness of what was happening in these different storylines, and I think that that was kind of the point. It made me think more about the realities of Jim Crow law and drug laws and how that affects certain groups of people. And so I would really recommend this. If you liked homegoing or you like multi-generational family stories, this is a great one. And like I said, it won't take you too long, and it is beautifully written. This is Sexton's debut novel, and so I can't wait to read what she puts out next. It was beautiful. So I definitely recommend this book, especially if you're interested in New Orleans or Jim Crow law and how that affects in particular how that affects this family, but I would say that reaches further to Black families in the United States, that I would definitely pick this one up. As a side note, Sexton did grow up in the New Orleans area, so I think that she's really putting her own experiences and own voice into this story. Another audiobook I finished was The Winner's Kiss, and this is by Marie Rutowski. I read this physically some too, but mostly listened to it on audiobook. And this is the last in the Winner's series, so I can't talk a ton about it. It's the finale book, but I did think the story took a much different path than I thought it was going to. It wasn't my favorite in the series, but I do appreciate Rutowski's story that she told in this. This follows Kestrel and Aaron, who are from 2 different people groups. Their people groups are kind of at odds with one another. Kestrel was a Valorian, and the Valorian people had enslaved the Hurani people in the first book, and so that the stories kind of take off from there. But definitely plays with a lot of themes of identity, family, ownership. I think if you're looking for a good YA trilogy that has a lot of political intrigue, a lot of war strategy, and is set in a fantastical world but doesn't have a lot of magical elements to it, that this would be something that would be very interesting to you. So yeah, like I said, can't say a ton. It's the 3rd book, but this also plays very interestingly with the theme of like identity and who we are, and how much do our memories play a part into ourself. So that's kind of an interesting theme that it explores in this book as well. But yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments if you've finished the series and want to chat about it. I would love to do that. Just maybe give a warner if you're gonna have spoilers in the comments, but I would love to chat with some of you guys about this series, because I did overall enjoy it. Next, for the Cozyathon, I picked up this little guy, and it's I'd Rather Be Reading, A Library of Art for Book Lovers by Genevieve de la Mare. I read this one by candlelight. It's very short, so I was able to crank it out in a night. I'm not gonna lie, I had to have another light on too, because I need light. I have pretty poor eyesight, and yeah, I needed more light than the candle was offering me, but I did have a candle lit and some mood lighting going on. But this is a fun little guy that has pictures, bookish art in it, and then also some bookish essays. And it, like it says in the title, it's a book for people who'd rather be reading. I liked the essay in here by Anne Patchett called Cheating, and it's all about her favorite books, how she's an author is like asked to give her favorite books, and she kind of just talks about how, like, what an impossible task that is. And so I really think as readers we can sympathize with what an impossible task that is, and how she kind of works through that and then eventually gives us a list and kind of explains. And then here's some like examples of the bookish art. So it's just very aesthetically pleasing. It has some poems about reading. Cool picture of everyone with the book. So it's just a lovely little book to take a flip through, and like I said, there's just some really nice essays about written by readers. And so there was also another really good one in here about reading hard books and how we need that, and we need to take the time to let ourselves read hard books and to take a break from the media and, you know, all those things. So yeah, it's very sweet, and I might put this on like a Christmas wish list. It's a pretty book to have if you love books. So, and then last but not least, I listened to Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is a psychological science fiction thriller. This follows our main protagonist, Jason, who is living a pretty normal life. He's got a wife, he's got a son, he has some unfulfilled, you know, dreams, but overall he's pretty happy with where he is in life. And all of a sudden he is just ripped from that, and so we follow him as he tries to get back to his wife and his son. This plays with infinity and all sorts of other scientific theories. I don't want to give too much away because that's part of the fun is following him on his journey, but this definitely deals with those themes of what makes us who we are, our identity, and basically infinity is terrifying. And yeah, it was really good. Blake Crouch is a screenwriter, and I think he's writing the screenplay for this. So I think listening to it also kind of gave me those feelings of watching a story. But I absolutely blew through this on audio. I think that this is, since my commute has been lowered, this is one of the quickest audiobooks I've listened to, but I was so intrigued I didn't want to stop. And so I definitely recommend this for a fun thriller, and especially if you are science-minded and you like playing with theories. I think this is specifically like some more theoretical physics things. So yeah, I definitely recommend it, and I'm excited for the eventual movie that I hope will exist someday. So right now I'm finishing up Wicked Autumn, which I was reading for Cozyathon. Cozy mystery, MI5 agent trying to figure out who done it. It's very fun and light, and I really like the setting of this novel. Also started The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. This is her first book in the Inheritance trilogy. I am barely 40 pages into it, but I'm already loving it, and I am so excited to jump on this N.K. Jemisin bandwagon, train, whatever. I'm on it and I'm there because this book is already just like, oh, so good. Also listening to the 4th in the Inspector Armand Gamache 3 Pines series. I think it's called A Rule Against Murder. I'm about halfway through that. So yeah, that's what I'm reading, and I will wrap those up in another recent reads. But what are you reading? What are you enjoying? Have you had a good Cozyathon, and enjoying all the other readathons that are going? So many fun ones right now. So I hope that your reading is going well. I hope that you are warm and cozy somewhere, and I hope to talk to you soon. Bye. In case you are wondering, I'm drinking the cinnamon apple tea from my Steps By unboxing, and it is delicious. I actually put some pure maple syrup to sweeten it, and half, and it is like glorious. So I definitely recommend if you saw that video and were wondering. The zest tea,